In one of the previous videos, I mentioned Sattvik intellect. We will try to explore what Sattvik intellect actually is. There are many aspects in that regard. We will try to cover one major aspect in this video. We will, in a way, intellectualize the intellect. See, first of all, this word intellectual has to be looked into. When we say speaking intellectually, it could actually mean two things. It may mean that I am speaking conceptually, or it may mean that I am speaking factually, but I am using the intellect to express what is a fact for me. Because even if something is factual for me, to express it we will have to use the intellect and use the language to whatever extent it allows. So when we say something intellectual, when we say speaking intellectually, it could either mean that someone is speaking conceptually or factually. And here factual and conceptual does not refer to the objective dimension, but refers to the subjective dimension. See, when we come to the realm of subjectivity, what is factual for someone may be conceptual for someone else. Someone may be saying something which is factual for them, they are using the intellect to express it. But for me it may be conceptual, and therefore I may confuse that person also to be conceptual. And also, although someone may be saying something that is factual for them, if I simply pick it up and start saying it, I am speaking conceptually. The same thing, it may be the same thing. Someone is speaking factually, but I may be saying the same thing conceptually. So usually when we use the word intellectual, in general it means this negative connotation of being conceptual. Actually it need not be so, but because maybe majority of the people are speaking only conceptually, because at large that is what is happening, that has become kind of the norm. That has, the being intellectual has acquired a negative shade, because whatever majority of the people do becomes the norm, and that itself will become the default setting. The word will acquire a default negative connotation. So being intellectual is itself, by itself, is not a negative thing. Now when we say Sattvik intellect means an intellect that speaks factually, because speaking conceptually, speaking about things that are not true for me, if you put it very bluntly, it amounts to a lie. So does it mean that we should never speak about things conceptually? See, saying things conceptually is itself not the issue. The issue is, as we start speaking about things conceptually, gradually, without our knowledge, we begin to assert it. And that is the problem. See, when we know something, we say that I know this is so, this is so. We assert that it is something is like this. We know something and we assert that it is so. That is fine. If you know something and you assert it. That's fine. But then the reverse also starts happening. The reverse shouldn't happen, but it starts happening. When we assert certain things that we actually don't know, that is not a fact for us, but when we assert it a few times, the intellect has the tendency to begin to believe that it actually knows. So asserting something a few times makes you think that you know. See, this is a very common thing. This is actually a very simple thing, but it is one of the major obstacles. As soon as we begin to believe that we know something when it is actually not factual to us, we are moving into an illusory world. We are no more in touch with reality of where we are presently. See, just a very simple example. Suppose some teacher said in a discourse that truth is beyond the mind. Many people to that will respond, yes, yes. They will Why do we assert so easily? Why we are asserting it is we have heard it from someone else earlier, and now the same statement is coming from someone else, and therefore we are connecting the two and we are saying yes, we should not be saying that because it is not a fact for us. If when we hear such statements, which is actually not a fact for us, it should go and make us go into a state of wonder, a state of blankness. When we go into a state of blankness, maybe it will actually become a fact for us. But if we are still doing something mentally, agreeing with it, disagreeing with it, comparing it with someone else and saying yes, it is a fact, it is not a fact. The intellect has just created an illusion that I know because I have heard it many times and I have told it many times, then it begins to think I know. See, when you think that you know something, will you seek wholeheartedly after that? After that, there is no question of seeking wholeheartedly. So now some people may say, no, I know it, but I don't know it experientially. See, please don't do this. It will create a lot of friction within. It will create a lot of rift within you, saying that I know but I don't know it experientially. Don't make it so complicated. This is just a trick that we are playing with ourselves, and the intellect will end up in a mess. It will really end up in a mess. Why can't we simply be straightforward? I don't know, that's it. There's no playing with words that I know but not experientially, theoretically I know. We don't have to use too many words. We just have to see I don't know, and that is it. There is nothing further need to be added to it. Why it is so important is, see, when you think you know something, what is the feeling that you go through? Please see what is the feeling you go through when you think that I know. The feeling is that of relief. The feeling is that of feeling comfortable, meaning your intensity levels go down. When you think you know, your intensity is diffused. When you see that you don't know and when you seek, your eyes are open, you are alert and you are more alive. Your intensity levels go up. So anything that brings down your intensity levels is not spiritual. Anything that brings down your spirits is not spiritual. See, for example, look at all the devotees. Because why I am taking the example of devotees is, devotees are always asserting statements about God. But look at them. Have you seen any devotee making some statements about God and feeling relieved? Have you seen any devotee? Look at any story. You only see them getting more and more and desperate. Vyakula. They are becoming more and more Vyakula. Why? Because the moment they are asserting something, the moment they are making a statement on God, they are immediately seeing that it is not in my experience. And therefore they become extremely desperate. That utterance itself is making them more desperate. So if assertions are making you more desperate and intense and more alive, it is making you a seeker truly, then there is no problem. But if the assertion is making you down, if it is making your aliveness go down, if it is making you dead, anything that makes you go dead is not spiritual. You are going in the reverse direction. And when I am saying intensity, I don't mean intensity of the Rajasic type, because you see people talk about God and become very intense when they are speaking to someone else, arguing with someone else. That in that case, all your energy and intensity is directed outward. You may argue with somebody. I believe in God. You don't believe in God. You should believe in God. Otherwise, you will go to hell. And all that you can say very intensely. I am not talking about such intensity. All that intensity is directed outward and it is not spiritual. Spiritual intensity means it is burning you, not somebody else. Burning somebody else is very easy. That's not the point. So when we are talking about intensity, when we are speaking of adhyatma, intensity means something that burns you, that makes you more alive, more intense, desperate. So if anything makes you less alive, lousy, relieved, comfortable, please be aware of this. Such things should not happen in spirituality. Even if you say scripture said it, he said it, that person said it, that guru said it, therefore I am saying it. If that utterance is making you more desperate, it's fine, no problem. But in general, majority of the cases, it is only making you feel relieved and feel comfortable and diffuse all the intensity, all such utterances. It is Atma, Paramatma and God. God is one of the main things that diffuses people's intensity, unfortunately. Now don't take this as something against God or something. I'm not talking against God. I'm only talking against what we are doing with God. We are only using God to become dead, to bring our aliveness levels down. This is something I saw happen. Somebody was taking some class to children, and the teacher was talking about Sri Rama. And they were telling how he was about to become crown prince, and suddenly he was sent to forest, but he was equanimous and this and that. They told so many things, wonderful things about Sri Rama, and the children were all fascinated and they were all in a sense of wonder. And finally the teacher says, he could do all that because he was God. Pew, all the intensity. See, the moment you speak like this, all the intensity, oh, because he was God, so that's why he could do it. Then he can't do it. All the sense of wonder, all the aliveness that was built up is suddenly diffused. See, if that word God made us more intense, we can use it. But if we are saying because he was God, he could do it, we are using the intellect, bringing in God, and then making all our intensity go away. This is we are absolutely going in the reverse direction if we use the word God this way. I hope you see what I am saying. So Sattvik intellect means that which speaks factually, and even if it speaks conceptually, it sees that I don't know it, and it will only become more desperate. It will only become more intense. And when we say intense, this intensity is not about intensity towards others. You can you can think that you know certain things, become very confident and become very intense towards others. We are not talking about such intensity. We are only talking about intensity towards ourselves, and that intensity can come about only when we see I don't know, and that is it. Even if we assert, it should immediately prick us that it is not in my experience, and it should make us more desperate, make us seek it, and make us more alive, more intense.